What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take a look at 5 games that really need to be shown at the Xbox event. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and cry myself to sleep if these games aren't here. We got a lot of other games I could be playing versus crying about it, but I do think for one reason or another that we'll talk about throughout this video, these games should be shown, okay? So I'm going to start with number 1, and a couple of these, by the way, are not necessarily even Xbox exclusives. They're just games I desperately want to see. So let's start actually with the number 1 game like that, Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, I feel like Xbox is the only hope. You know, I did have hope for the Nintendo Switch 2, right? Anytime they did a Nintendo Direct or any kind of Nintendo showcase, I thought, all right, here's the time. And you know what? We did get that sizzle reel, and we did get the confirmation that it's coming out in 2025 in the fall, right? So we are within 6 months of actually being able to play it, and it's actually kind of crazy when you say it out loud because it feels like just this fabled game that you're never going to actually get. We are close, but you need to bring it home, right? We need that release date. So, look, I mean, it's been attached to Xbox, not necessarily since the beginning, but I mean, it's got the Game Pass slant, right? It's coming out on Game Pass when they did the sizzle reel with the Switch, and I think people even tried to ask, like, Xbox support on Twitter if the game is still on Game Pass, which it is. So, with Nintendo, you know, they're launching the console. They've already done their big show. Yeah, they're going to be at Summer Game Fest, and it could be third-party games that, you know, is the reason why they're there. I feel like Hollow Knight's just not going to happen there. So I would expect, okay, if Hollow Knight's not at Summer Game Fest, where's it got to be? Well, it better be at the Xbox event, right? Because we just need the release date. Pretty simple. Okay, number 2, sticking to an Xbox actual, I want to say exclusive, let's just say an Xbox published game because we don't even know which of these games are exclusives anymore. Fable. I think Fable needs to be there for actually a couple different reasons. You know, number 1, it's a game within kind of a range. And so, you know, this is not a game that's 2-3 years away, right? This is a game that's early 2026. So at this time next year, we'll already have played it. Ideally, I mean, it could get delayed, and you never know with a game like that until it actually, you know, releases. You never want to count out a delay, but we should have already been playing it a year from now. So it's within range, right? It's coming out pretty darn soon. And then, you know, what we've seen of it, you know, like every year they show it, right? I believe 3 years in a row we have seen Fable. So it's not like it's not there, right? It's not like it's never there. It's actually always there. But we really, I think, need to take a step forward and say, okay, what are some games we need, like, legitimate, like, deep dives in? And I don't think there's a game besides Fable. Maybe I can think of one, actually, it's on this list. But Fable really needs that deep dive, you know, just for the purposes of an event like this where they try to take 30 games and throw it at you, maybe 5 minutes. You know, I'm not asking for 15 or 20. I would like to see uncut Fable gameplay, literally 15 to 20 minutes. But for an event like this, just give me like 5. Give me 5 minutes, jump around, sure, because you're probably going to do it in some sort of trailer-like form. But I think, you know, this is the year that we need to see more than 3-second clip. You know, when they delayed it, they did that sizzle reel. It was like a minute long, and they showed off gameplay. And it was probably the cleanest we've seen this game, right? Like the most put together. The issue is it's still just a series of very, very short clips or animations. You know, I mean, we haven't seen, I would say, even like 20 seconds of like stitched together, or actually where it's not stitched together, it's literally just uncut, right? They're just moving around the world. I don't know if we've gotten even 20 seconds of uncut footage, and the game comes out in 8 months, you know, so this is that year. If there's ever a time to do it, it would be right now. Okay, let's go back and forth. We'll hit the other Xbox exclusive a little bit later. Let's go to Persona 4. Not exactly the same reasons as Hollow Knight, but again, you know, not Xbox owned, right? Let's say this is a game that has been long rumored for many years. Actually, this is a rumor that's been around for so long, and you know, it's one of the worst kept secrets in gaming. Oblivion was another one, but you know, at this point, we have voice actors that aren't returning or weren't asked to return, and they're saying it on social media by literally announcing that the game exists, right? Now, maybe it's some sick marketing ploy where they are coming back, but just to play different characters. Whatever it ends up being, I mean, now you literally have, hey, we're not coming back to play a certain character in Persona 4. So you're telling me there's a Persona 4, right? We've heard about it so much over like 2+ years. We've also heard very specifically in the last month or two that it's going to get announced specifically at the Xbox show. So you can say maybe Summer Game Fest, maybe this is off the board by the time we get to the Xbox show. I think it'll skip Summer Game Fest and would be at the Xbox show. You know, desperately need to see it. Maybe not 100%, but I mean, it's a game that we've known about for so long, and it does need to get announced at some point. And, you look at the kind of deals that Atlas and Xbox and just how everything has worked out over the last little while. You imagine it's a Game Pass game, not exclusive to Xbox, but just a Game Pass game in general. So it feels like the time is right. All right, let's hit that other Xbox exclusive in State of Decay 3. Now, this is one that you could very much argue actually needs it more than Fable, but I wanted to stress with Fable the release date, right? With State of Decay, you don't know when it's coming out. With Fable, it was supposed to come out in the fall, crazy enough, and now coming out early 26. So State of Decay was announced, I believe, back in 2020, right around the COVID years, and we didn't see it for so long. It skipped so many shows. I do believe they showed it last year. I forget if they showed it 2 years in a row or just last year. So we've gotten a little, but I mean, again, slightly different with Fable, kind of also, though, the same type thing. This is a game that's been around for 5 years now, at least 5, right? And that's if they showed it like the day after they started making it. So most likely 5.5 plus years that they've been working in some form on this game. So come on, I mean, it's the same kind of feeling where it's like you gotta show us something. Now again, like they did show something last year, but it wasn't a lot. Like we're not talking again about this deep dive thing. Now again, because of the release date, that maybe makes it kind of harder to predict, but I think this game should be like a late 26, maybe 27, but you're talking about 6, 7, 8 years after they started working on this thing. Just show it again. I mean, for right now, just pull a Fable, show up in multiple years, like back to back, and just show a little bit more than you did the year before, right? I mean, I think that should be maybe a realistic expectation. And then number 5, let's end it with a bang. One thing that I think would make Xbox, I mean, look, all of these games I think would make Xbox stand out, but I'll give you another one. Final Fantasy coming to Xbox. Now, I have classically, maybe at times if you guys watch the other videos, but I've classically and maybe even controversially said, I don't know how well these games would do on Xbox. I really don't know how much they move the needle in terms of literal sales for Square Enix, okay? But I will tell you this, in terms of just like a mindset, I do think it would help Xbox, because when you think about, that third-party support, when you think about them porting their stuff over, but they struggle to get, like the Black Myth Wukongs are still not there, and, they're not getting the God of Wars, even though they're giving, Gears of War, let's say, right? For a game like Final Fantasy, I think it proves something. Does that make sense? Like, I again, controversially, don't even think it would do all that amazing on Xbox, okay? That's just my thoughts. But, I mean, to get out there and to say, hey, we finally got the date. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you that. I mean, you got a couple. You have 16 to play with. You have 7. I mean, look, 7 Remake is coming out on Switch. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do it. And Rebirth, I don't know about that one. I'm not expecting, like, every Final Fantasy that could come to Xbox to come to Xbox, at this year's show. Again, I just feel like optically, I mean, that's really the word. I think it just looks good for them. Once they make that announcement, it's kind of like a weight being lifted off your chest at this point. I don't know how much it moves the needle in literally any other way, but at least you can say, hey, we freaking got them. It took us long enough, and now hopefully go out and play it, right? Go buy it. I don't know if people will do that, but at least they can say it out loud, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.